Number 5.
Number 5. This may be high up on your guys' list, but it's where it is from my list. That is Looper. I absolutely loved this movie. I absolutely love this movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, aka the Young Boss.
AKA
He
Tommy.
is amazing in this movie. Bruce Willis absolutely kills it as the older Joseph Gordon-Levitt character. He absolutely kills it. And then also the little kid. It was a great actor.
He was phenomenal.
He was phenomenal. Especially during the first telekinesis scene that he's in.
Oh my god.
With the one guy, villain guy. That was
crazy.
just awesome.
That blew my mind.
Mind-bending.
An absolute great film. The ending was definitely a twist.
Oh, I
Like,
wasn't
it definitely was
expecting
a twist, man. It was definitely a surprise ending for me. I absolutely love this movie.
Number 5 for me would be Ted. Ted, because I found it to be I laughed throughout the whole entire thing. It was a great film, honestly. Best debut for
McFarlane.
Marlon. I would say it was a good start for him for his directing. Besides, doing Family Guy, American Dad, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. Oh god. But yeah, it was just overall very enjoyable, hilarious throughout the whole entire thing.
Yes.
Did not skip a beat.
Consistent laughs throughout. My number 5 is also Lucas' number 5, and that's Looper.
Yeah!
Looper, I cannot tell you guys how much I adore this movie. Again with the bloopers, shut the up. I hate it when he does that.
No.
It's a film with so much style, but so much substance packed into it. When you watch the trailer, you're only scratching the surface of what you're getting. There's so much packed into it. The kid, again, phenomenal actor. I want to see even more Joseph Gordon-Levitt, so good. Bruce Willis, so good. Emily Blunt was so good. All the action sequences, so much good. Yes, it was basically a very cool movie, but yeah, it's
so good.
Yes, and Rian Johnson did a great job of directing it for his 3rd film. That was pretty damn impressive, just like Argo. One of the best sci-fi films I've ever seen.
Let me just say I'm drinking water because there's no beer in the house. Which would have been really good.
Alcohol's not that good for you anyway.
Oh god.
It would have helped with this. Anyway, number 5 is a movie that I enjoyed that I brought you and two of my other friends to in Royal Palm Beach, and that is 007 Skyfall.
Ooh.
And I love this Bond movie. It's in my top 5 now. Of all Bond movies. Just loved the cinematography. I loved how it blended with the lights in that one scene where he's in the building. I love the opener. It's one of the best Bond openers I've seen. I didn't even know that was Adele singing that.
Song.
I loved how they took it in a different direction than all the other Bonds, and they basically made this a little bit more action, but a little bit more, okay, the villains are now the powerful ones, and they're really gonna kick Bond's ass. That's how you do an action movie.
Absolutely.
You can blend it with dramatic sense, with you like the villain, you understand what M's going through. Really makes you think, do we really need like a secret agent facility in the world?
My number 5 is Flight. It's a very positive exploration of the 12 steps in overcoming addiction. Denzel Washington definitely deserves a Golden Globe or an Oscar for this movie.
Absolutely.
For best actor in a drama.
We'll see about that.
And I'm really glad that Robert Zemeckis is doing flesh and blood characters once again. Number 4.
Number 4, you guys pretty much just all explained it for me. So thanks a lot. But my number 4 is Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, they pretty much explained everything I wanted to explain in this movie.
Yes. You're welcome.
Number 4 for me was I watched this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, which was the Avengers, because I procrastinated in seeing it. But moving on, I thought it was just pretty damn good. There's a few things I had problems with, like the camera angle. Sometimes it was just getting too close up to the characters, like that fist fight with Loki and Thor. And I was just like, what the hell's going on here? Someone's getting beaten up.
They're brothers.
There was a lot of different quirky things with the characters that had a really interesting spin, because like people would see Avengers like, oh, happy-go-lucky superheroes, they'll save the world. No, they at first they just hated each other.
They argue.
They argue so much, and that was the good point of it, actually. We need to see more of Hawkeye, honestly, because he's just a badass.
My number 4, this was a movie that the 3 of us saw on Christmas night, and it ended Christmas so well, and that was Django Unchained.
Oh, yes.
This is truly one of the best Western films I have ever seen in my life. It is a masterpiece. I can definitely say that without a doubt. Quentin Tarantino does a great job of not only taking a very touchy subject and putting it into a film, but also just not apologizing and just going full force right into your face with so many subjects like racism, slavery, the abolition of it, of a character who's trying to buy his freedom away, of bounty hunting. It's just so well done, and the bloody massacre near the end. Holy shit. That was awesome.
God. It was
So
nice.
much blood. If you're into just blood and guts everywhere, keep a lookout for that scene because you will be like a kid in the candy store watching that scene. There's no standout. All the acting is just incredible in the movie. And Quentin Tarantino, yes, thank you so much again for delivering another masterpiece upon us.
We agree on our number 4s, actually. Because mine is Django Unchained. I agree that there's a message in there.
Yes.
I just disagree at how it was handled. The comedy kind of downplays it a little bit, if you really think about it.
We kind of have to put some comedy in.
I
You
know,
kinda have
but...
to get some lightheartedness in it.
Yeah,
but I understand
but-
what you're saying.
Yeah, but it kind of gets downplayed and sometimes you forget about it. The Ku Klux Klan scene was absolutely...
That-
I love DiCaprio's performance. I love Jackson's performance.
Oh,
Jackson's
yes.
always playing...
That was hilarious.
That's probably the best DiCaprio performance that I've seen in his entire career.
I can agree with
because
that.
he just got that businessman smile to him that really
Adult
makes it-
supervision is required.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
required. Jamie Foxx plays a good role, considering that he barely has any lines, but that's really the point.
Yeah, I love
so just
that.
his facial expressions are really what make this movie shine, and it goes to the classic Western style.
My number 4 is Life of Pi. This is definitely one of the best, with a capital B, best book to film adaptations I've ever seen in my entire life. 95% of the book is in the movie. Ang Lee did a phenomenal job bringing this novel to life.
Number 3 is exactly like number 4. Why do you keep explaining these damn movies?
Because they're good.
Why aren't they higher up on your list so you can agree with me? My number 3 is Ted. This was just an absolutely awesome movie. I love Family Guy American Dad, what Seth MacFarlane does. This was just a real, in my words, a real life version of Family Guy. An absolute real life version. Because it has all the scenarios, it has flashbacks, it has everything in Family Guy. So
Pop
it plays
culture
real
reference
life.
heaven.
Oh god.
And also it has Flash Gordon. Number 3 for Shane.
For me would be The Dark Knight Rises. It was just a phenomenal end to a trilogy, honestly.
Absolutely.
Yes, there was some things, of course, over the top, that kind of other thing. And Bane with his whole
Mask
love
thing.
exploding.
later!
Didn't need to sound like like if Sean Connery needed to do Bane, but at the same time, still wasn't bad. It was very good. Phenomenal, and in IMAX was also amazing because you could hear every
That
single
was
punch.
awesome.
Oh, so good.
Alright, these top 3 were the ones that just hit home for me. Number 3 goes to The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Going into this, I knew it wouldn't surpass Lord of the Rings, so I went in judging it as a standalone film, and as a result, I loved it. Contain. Keep your composure.
Bottle up that rage for just a moment.
He
please.
hates Lord of the Rings if you couldn't tell. Martin Freeman killed his Bilbo Baggins. The scene involving Gollum and Bilbo is just brilliant. I saw it in 48 frames in 3D, and actually watching it in 48 frames actually helped the way the 3D looked. It really helped it all out, and it added to the beauty of Middle Earth. Peter Jackson brought me back to Middle Earth. He brought me back to love this franchise once again. I absolutely love this movie, and it's very close to my heart because Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, is my favorite trilogy of all time. And the score by Howard Shore, my god, it's such a beautifully composed score. I cried at one point, I'm not gonna lie, I really did.
Number 3 I saw on my birthday, actually.
Alright.
You remember this, Alex. You should
Oh,
know
I remember
this
that, I
movie.
came with you to see it.
Yes. I brought the whole bunch of you to see this movie
Oh, yeah.
because I knew it was going to be good, and this was the most talked about limited film out there, and that is Moonrise Kingdom. They're calling it better than Ted in Best Comedy.
Agreed.
Because
What?
it is a comedy.
It is a
Agreed.
comedy.
And it's a mixture of it anyway. And I love Bruce Willis.
How'd you get up on that tower?
I'm mother Bruce Willis. Wes Anderson's style of film is just always fun to watch. I never saw The Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is a fantastic movie by far. I got a lot of recommendations to see it because of its comedic style, its fantasy-like setting that it has. And that it's very, visually it just looked out of place and different and beautiful and everything. And the message that you're probably not going to end up with the person you love is something that really you have to think about in terms of how we live in today's world.
Like I said, life.
Yeah.
That's what movies are supposed to do. That's what makes it art.
Well,
So-
guess what, Joey?
What's that?
My number 3 is also Moonrise Kingdom. Boom! Yes, so we agreed on something on the collaboration. I absolutely love Wes Anderson. He is a great director. Unbelievable cast. You got Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Bruce Willis. It was just a great feel-good movie.
Number 2, another movie you guys keep talking about.
Oh yes.
And then also number 1 will be, but these two could have gone either way for me, so it was really hard to figure out which one is better than the other.
Right.
There are two completely different movies, but they're also two completely badass movies as well. My number 2, after long thought, is Django Unchained. I absolutely love this movie. When I was thinking about my top 10 last night, I was definitely thinking this is definitely better than 10. There is a lot of comedy in this movie, especially the Ku Klux Klan scene. I loved this movie from beginning to end. It's also something I pointed out in the review. This is my favorite soundtrack for a movie this entire year. It beats out Dark Knight Rises slightly, and also beats out Skyfall. Jamie Foxx was an absolute badass slave turned into an absolute rebel hunter. Bounty hunter.
He was badass.
Christoph Waltz was excellent in this movie. I love this comedy, especially the first scene in the movie where he meets the 2 slave traders.
Number 2 and number 1 were very hard for me to decide, and it kills me a little bit inside in order to decide between the two, but I have to go ahead with number 2, which would be Wreck-It Ralph.
Alright.
Nice.
I absolutely loved this movie because I'm a gamer at heart, retro and new. I pretty much got all the references that they put in the whole entire thing. The Konami Code, the Metal Gear Solid one. It was very heartfelt, the pacing was great. Had a lot of comedic elements into it, a lot of great action, just amazing.
Alright, number 2, Skyfall. It's one of the best James Bond films I've ever seen. It's definitely in my top 5. Daniel Craig, he's either surpassed or tied with Sean Connery as the best Bond. I cannot say he's passed because of him. Javier Bardem, he plays one of the best Bond villains ever since Alex Trevelyan in GoldenEye. Did a fantastic job. All the action sequences are amazing. Great start, great end. A beautifully sung theme song by Adele, which actually made me emotional every time I saw it. Everything about this movie is just amazing. Sam Mendes did a great job of directing. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to see the next one.
So we got number 2. A battle between 1 and 2 was really tough to pick between these two, but I have to go with Argo. Because this is going to be the candidate for Best Picture at the Oscars. I guarantee that, and I think it will win. Comparing it to my number 1 was just really tough. But Ben Affleck, after the whole Bennifer situation back in 2003 when it was talked non-stop, I thought, how is he going to get out of this? Because I knew J-Lo wasn't going to get out of it, because she can't act worth a shit. But after I saw this movie, I'm like, okay, now he's gaining my respect. The suspense was really built up from beginning to end. I just loved the way that the whole camera angles looked in terms of building up the suspense, the whole music combining with it, the whole message of what it means to be like a hero that never gives up on a mission.
And the fact that it's based on a true story. My number 2 is Django Unchained. This is quite possibly, or in my opinion, it is Quentin Tarantino's most brutal film Quentin Tarantino has ever made.
Agreed.
But the movie is also exciting, ironic, and explosively funny. This movie might be called Django Unchained, but it really should be called Tarantino Unleashed.
It's number 1.
Alright. Me and Austin both saw this on the midnight premiere.
God, that was an
This
amazing
was an amazing experience. I absolutely love this movie. It was really hard to decide between Django Unchained and this movie as my number 1. But my number 1 has to go to the movie that's been number 1 on my list for a while, a couple months. That is The Dark Knight Rises.
Right on.
The Dark Knight Rises is absolutely the best conclusion to a trilogy I have ever seen. Christian Bale kills it as Batman. Tom Hardy absolutely does an excellent job as Bane. Anne Hathaway did a pretty good job as Catwoman, I have to admit. I was definitely a bit skeptical at first. This was just an awesome movie. I love this movie a lot. This is my favorite for a while. It's definitely the best experience I've had in a movie in a while. So that's why The Dark Knight Rises is my number 1 movie of the year.
Let's get...
Alright, anyways. My number 1, you guys had to explain it all, but that's okay. I will give my interpretation of it, would be Django Unchained.
Yeah.
Number 1 because I am a sucker for westerns. Revolvers, the long coats, the whole style of the old Wild West and everything was just astounding. It was very realistic, actually. Leonardo DiCaprio, my god, just did spot-on performance. Dr. Schultz, favorite character because he was very sarcastic about things, and the way he talked was just awesome. He was a great character. As you guys mentioned, the Ku Klux Klan scene with the bags,
So
absolutely hilarious.
That was
Brilliant.
Alright, my number 1 best film of the year. When I came to think about this film, it had to be the film that I saw most times in the theater, the one that was mostly resonating, one that made me get emotional, and that goes to The Dark Knight Rises. I saw this film 4 times in
Oh
theaters.
yeah, that's right. It was like 4.
Twice in IMAX, twice regularly, and every time I saw it, it got better and better
Can I just
and better.
mention something real quick?
Sure.
Out of all those times that you've watched it, that probably totaled up to $60. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
It was very worth it. I got to experience it so many times, and seeing IMAX is definitely the way to go. Christian Bale, he has surpassed Michael Keaton as the best Batman in my opinion. Bane, although he does not beat the Joker, he is still a great villain. He's very menacing. Anne Hathaway kicked so much ass as Catwoman, and she beats Halle Berry's Catwoman to submission. I don't even mention Halle Berry because she sucked. The plot twist, everything, the score by Hans Zimmer. So beautifully done. I have the soundtrack and my car. Yes, he's a legend. I loved it. Christopher Nolan has delivered one of his best trilogies, my second favorite trilogy of all time. I love Dark Knight Rises. It ended the trilogy in such a fantastic and spectacular fashion, even though it's not as good as The Dark Knight. Nevertheless, it is my number 1 favorite movie of the year. Thank you, Christopher Nolan.
Okay, my number 1 has to go to a movie that was impossible to do, that people said was very impossible to do. There was no way that people think that this was ever going to be a successful movie, even if this director had been able to do it.
Yeah.
But I went into this movie awed, just in awe of it through countless,
You're killing me
it's
here.
like
I need to know.
90 minutes. I know, I'm really good at that. And that goes to Life of Pi. Life of Pi is, in my opinion, my favorite movie. Because it takes a concept that shouldn't have been done. And I've read this novel that it was based on, so there may be a little bit biased, but the way that the cinematography was, the way that it visually worked, I mean, even though it's in 3D, which some film people despise, but I think it takes what 3D is meant to be. You know how back in those science museums that we would go back to in the 90s, they would always show 3D, and it's like this was going to be the future of film. This is the way that you use 3D right. You're supposed to tell a story with it, and this tells a story with the 3D. The emotion between the tiger and Pi was great. That's why it's my favorite movie, and I hope that it gets a lot of awards at the Oscars because it deserves it.
My number 1 might be a little bit biased because this is like my favorite film franchise. Drum roll, please. My number 1, Skyfall. Skyfall. Hey, Skyfall does what all the best Bond movies do. It makes you want to see the next one as soon as possible.
Yes.
Consider me physically shaken and emotionally stirred. It's not the best Bond movie of all time, but it's a very good one. And it's a little bit darker, but in my opinion, it needed to be because Quantum of Solace was a piece of shit. It needed to be shaken up. No pun intended. Personally, I think 4 years is a little bit long to wait for the next James Bond movie. I personally think they should go back to doing a James Bond movie every 2 years.
Well, you can't rush a good movie.
Right. But either way, it was incredible. It was unbelievable. James Bond is back and better than ever.
And that was our top 10 favorite films of the year, all of us. Next come the stains in 2012. That'll be coming up next, and we will see you guys then.
Seriously, do it. Do it. Do it.